Today, the 26-year-old suspect in the killing of the United Healthcare CEO was back in a Pennsylvania courtroom for an extradition hearing to determine when he'll be brought back to New York to face charges, including second-degree murder. The case has brought out a clear division in the reaction among those on the right. You see, when popular conservative pundits like Ben Shapiro and anti-woman zealot Matt Walsh tried to attack, quote, evil liberals for celebrating the murder of a CEO, they were met with backlash from some of their own supporters who defended the violence. Because the truth is, those on the right don't necessarily abhor violence if it's against someone they don't like Black Lives Matter activists or pro-Palestinian protesters, undocumented immigrants, or the homeless. That's why we see them get behind people like Kyle Rittenhouse, who shot and killed 2 BLM protesters, or George Zimmerman, who shot and killed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin and turned them into cause celebs. Just look at how, in nearly the same breath, Fox's Laura Ingraham speaks about the 26-year-old United Healthcare suspect and Daniel Penny, who was just acquitted yesterday in the subway chokehold death of 30-year-old homeless man Jordan Neely.
Bag people, which I was sent in the commercial break earlier, crazy. Like, he's cute, and people celebrating this. This is a sickness. Honestly, it's so disappointing, but I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And up next, the other big news out of New York, Daniel Penny. A lot of people think he's a hero, and tonight he's not guilty. My take next.
Wow. Joining me now is Jason Johnson, professor of politics and journalism at Morgan State University and host of the podcast A Word with Jason Johnson. And vive la différence. Jason.
We just witnessed a murder of irony.
Yes.
That was a murder right there.
Dead.
Irony is officially dead.
Yeah.
Under any and all circumstances, we should not be surprised in this country that just reelected Donald Trump.
And I mean, the reality is, you know, if you go back to the Trayvon Martin case, you can go back before that. You can go back to the justification for lynching among conservatives, whether the conservatives wearing the D uniform or the R uniform. Conservatism itself has justified violence. January 6th, burning down Tulsa and Wilmington, overthrowing the government there. If it's violence for the purposes they want, they're cool with it.
If the victim is somebody that I don't like, or the victim is someone who they feel deserves it, then a lot of times people are willing to justify violence. It's an unfortunate thing. It's a very American thing, right? I mean, we worship vigilante violence. We worship action heroes. We worship Charles Bronson and all these people who take it into their own hands. Al Capone, you know, criminals and everything else like that. I think the sad part about this, frankly, is that I am not going to pretend that in a country that's been started and operated off of violence, that violence doesn't sometimes solve things. But the man who was killed is a cog in a machine. It's not going to change anything about how healthcare operates in this country. And so you have killed a man, harmed his family, and the machine's going to keep going. Yeah. And so it didn't really accomplish anything.
And the thing that's so kind of wild about it is this Luigi Mangione. You know, he's like sort of now everywhere. You know, there's people celebrating him, all on saying, don't catch him, all that sort of thing. You know, he did have his arraignment today, and he stood up and yelled something about, you know, this is just, it's unfair, it's not right, yada, yada, yada. He was walking, there he goes, walking in today. He yelled something about, there he goes. He's turning himself into sort of a folk hero, right? And leaning into that. He's probably richer than the guy that he killed. His family, he has generational wealth.
Yes.
So he probably was wealthier than the CEO that he killed.
Yes. This is Lex Luthor killing a stormtrooper, right? Like he and here's the thing. The humanity of this is that no matter how much money you have, you can still be taken advantage of by our unfair healthcare system.
That's right.
All the money in the world can't fix a broken back. All the money in the world can't save your grandmother. That's where my empathy comes through. Sure. But the attitude that, well, if I can't get things my way, or if I am in pain, that singular violence is the way to go, is a level of privilege that the vast majority of people in America suffering can't exact.
And a lot of the people who are falling in love with Luigi Mangione are opposed to regulating the insurance companies.
Yes.
That is how you could actually stop them from taking advantage of us. I think left and right, we agree. The system is broken. Insurance companies are bilking us. United Healthcare is that big for a reason. They're being sued for a reason. But like you said, they'll just replace him with another CEO and keep doing it to you. But regulation would actually fix it. They're against that.
They're against regulation because people don't want to understand that part. They want the catharsis of this one-man action that will supposedly, it's like everyone talking about the the anesthesiologist a week ago, like, oh, that changed because of what happened. Probably not. That was a much more complex situation. If there was a general level of understanding about health care, if we actually have members of Congress who would engage health care as an actual issue, not as just a political ploy to be bounced back and forth, you wouldn't have these kinds of problems. But, Joy, this is my real concern. This is very real for you and me and everybody else who does anything. This person worked alone. I sincerely believe he very likely worked alone.
Sure.
And any crazy person who views somebody as the genesis of all their problems can go out and do this. And that's what happens when you have a country that worships violence and a country where you don't regulate guns.
Right, exactly.
Because if you couldn't get access to guns, this probably doesn't happen.
Well, and this is the same approach that is taken by the right when it comes to gun violence. They're like, oh, it's very sad that 3-year-olds were killed, but we're not. The answer would be regulating guns,
right,
but we're not willing to do that. And so there's an unwillingness to do any of the structural things that would actually make it better. And in fact, I was saying the other day, I said it on my TikTok, I said it on this show, the majority of the voters in this country just elected to run America like United Healthcare.
Yeah.
This country will now be run the same way United Healthcare is. Vicious cost cutting, merciless cost cutting, cutting people's benefits, cutting veterans' benefits, refusing care, taking away Obamacare. That is United Healthcare.
And limiting people's ability to sue and pursue government regulation to stop the problems. Like, literally, people just said, well, I want more of this. And again, the problem is I have a lot of empathy for everybody on all sides in this situation. I've had to take care of people who are suffering medically. But this ain't the answer. And I honestly wish, rather than the right-wing people screaming and yelling and engaging in ridiculous murders, virality, and everything else like that, I really wish that members of Congress would stand up and say, hey, you know what, right and left, either because we're concerned about our own safety or the safety of American people, let's do something about this.
Yeah, it would be nice.
That'd be a nice Christmas
That would
gift.
be so normal. That's in America, Jason. Come on. We don't do that. Jason Johnson, thank you very much. We're Gotham, and the Joker is in charge. That's just real talk. Coming up next.